When we first talked about this crazy idea, riding from easternmost part of India to the westernmost, over 4,000 kilometers apart, it already sounded something out of a dream. In 2016, I traveled from North to South India on a motorcycle, and that was a life-changing experience. Not just I learned about the country I live in, I also rediscovered myself. And since then, I have been traveling around different parts of the world. But riding across India along its breadth was a long, deep desire. It was almost like destiny written on the open road. Talking to Sachin about it seems like the perfect opportunity. Only this time, I could share it with a friend. I wasn't surprised. He's the kind of person among all my friends who would not only dream of something of this scale, but actually sets out to do it. But my first thought was, how is he going to pull this off all by himself? Because this is the same guy who would push his glasses onto his head and spend hours looking for them. The kind who forgets the simplest things and seems a little lost most of the time. But hey, aren't we all a little lost? The difference is he never stops trying finding himself. He reminds me that it is perfectly okay to be lost as long as you keep moving ahead. His idea of tracing the lush green valleys of Mizoram to the arid landscape of Bhuj felt like rediscovery of India itself. Sometimes belief doesn't arrive like thunder. It comes as it is, quietly sneaking through your head, and you choose to forge ahead. A route where the weather could swing from 20 degrees to 45 degrees Celsius, and where the monsoon would make things even worse. But I also know those kind of obstacles cannot shake his belief. It's really hard for me to say no to a motorcycle adventure. He knew that too. That's why he reached out to me. Knowing his idea, no one really realizes it more than myself. How truly his ideas needed me and I needed them too. It doesn't matter where or when, I will tag along. For weeks we planned, putting our thoughts in order, and finally fixing a date, 5th of July. That was the day we would set out on this journey across India. But for me, it had to start much earlier. To even begin this ride from Mizoram, I had to reach Aizawl, from New Delhi, a distance of over 2,300 kilometers. Without wasting any time, I packed my gear, prepared the bike, and made my first stop at the Wisdom Palace. You see, before almost every adventure, I spend some time at Pegu's abode, a space that helps draw clarity for my thoughts. Pegu is an old friend of mine. the kind of guy who understands the madness behind my plans. He's also connected to Sachin in an oddly small world way. Not just as friends, but also a fellow motorcyclist. We talk about different cultures, people, and stories waiting to be unfolded. He always been one of those few people who truly gets what I do. That night when I told him about my plans to head east and head out on a cross-country adventure, he paused.
ओ फक तू सचिन से मिलने वाला है कि मैं तेरे साथ जाऊं मैं तुझे ऐसे गाइड करके लेके जाऊंगा ना तुझे भी एक ऐसे कंपनी मिल जाएगा
It didn't take long for me to say yes. We spent entire night awake. By the dawn, the plan was set. As we prepared to leave Delhi, I knew to begin my adventure with Sachin, I had to first ride to India's farthest east point. And now I wasn't alone. So I decided to make it even more meaningful. In true sense, this would be Pegu's longest motorcycle journey. And he's only taking his chances because he knows he has the right company to do it. Even I was excited about sharing this journey with him. Instead of taking the long and humid plains of North India, we chose a very different route, a ride through Nepal. Every journey has that one moment, the point where planning ends and the ride begins. For us, the moment was right there. As we rolled out and looked east, we would ride from west to east across Nepal, through the Himalayan foothills, crossing river ridges and chasing monsoon clouds. We would then re-enter India through the narrow chicken snake corridor, ending Pegu's ride at Guwahati, his home ground. From there, I will continue towards Mizoram. Sky was clear and zero chances of rain. It really felt wonderful. Just two friends chasing a direction that would soon turn into a memory of a lifetime.
When Ashwin told me that we were heading towards Nepal instead of cutting to the plains, I was not surprised. Of course he would choose the hardest route. That's just who he is. Someone who finds comfort in uncertainty. To him, challenge is a part of joy. I remember him telling me that when you take a journey that far, you are stepping out of your comfort zone. But I trust his instinct. And it was great fun. Up next, we were about to cross the Banwasa barrage. You see, Sadar River act like a natural boundary between India and Nepal. This was the first time I was crossing into a new country, and it felt like a little accomplished. Crossing into Nepal felt like stepping into a different rhythm of life. The air felt cooler, the roads narrower, and the face friendlier. Every turn opened into a new landscape. There were no deadlines, no rush. But having no plans also meant that we have nowhere definite to go. So we kept riding, chasing the daylight deeper into the heart of Nepal. By the evening, somewhere near Bardia National Park, the sky turned purple. We thought maybe we could push closer to Pokhara or Kathmandu. But at Sisapani, the police flagged us down. They told us that after 6 pm, no vehicles are allowed to pass through the jungle, especially motorcycles. So instead of moving ahead, we looked for a place to stay. A small roadside lodge with flickering lights, warm food, and unmistakable silence of being far away from everything familiar.
As we sat there eating and laughing, I realized it was not just a beginning. We weren't just crossing Nepal, we were learning what it really means to surrender to the road. This thought kept circling my head all night. Will I really be able to perform at my very best? To deliver my best efforts with Sachin's vision? And to this journey for everything we have set out for. But a good day on the road makes a huge difference. Somewhere in between the endless miles and quiet sunsets, with every mile it felt a little more confident. And I realized this is the point of life. To live these experiences, to share it with our loved ones, and to be fully present in that moment, instead of being worried about what comes next. Because in the end, nobody is going to remember what you felt or where exactly you have been. Comparing how big the world is, the same world that would never feel what you have felt. What truly matters are our experiences, because time only moves forward. Only a handful of things that time allows us to carry with us. Our shared wisdom and our memories, with a courage to keep going on. So we need to stop worrying and be grateful for living in the exact moment, because this is where the story truly exists and the dreams turns into reality. When the sun rose over Chisapani, everything changed. The forest around us came alive. Right in the heart of Bardia National Park, the air turned crisp, light and softer. For the first time in last couple of weeks, everything felt calm. Though I still had nearly 1900 kilometers to cover before I could meet Sachin in the next 5 days, we need to find a regular pace. That morning, we knew it was going to be a long haul. So we packed timely, started early, only to discover the road had other plans.
We booked the room last night and we were told to pay like 1500 Nepali. And then this morning, it's like, no, it's 1500 Indian rupees, which comes to 2400 Nepali, 900. He was asking for 900 more. I chose to walk away. Not my first rodeo.
I was truly amazed to see the consciousness of the Nepali people towards their environment and how deeply that respect runs through the way of life. Inside Bardia National Park, they have built a system of safe passes, not just for humans but for the wildlife too. Every vehicle gets a timestamp at the entry gate, and then you are given a window of 35 minutes to cross a stretch of 15 to 20 kilometers of forest road. If you move too fast or too slow, you are booked for it. Everybody travels together like a slow, respectful caravan through the nature. Honestly, that has left me speechless. In a world that's always racing ahead, here are the people who choose to slow down, to coexist instead of conquering the mother nature.
The moment you cross into Nepal, you will realize there are no real roads in the lowlands. It was going to be the testament for our endurance and the patience on the road. It wasn't my first time riding to Kathmandu from Delhi. And if there is only one thing that I have learned from my experience from the past, that no road to Kathmandu is ever easy. It's so unforgiving that it makes you question your own decisions. But by the time we reached Putwal, the mood shifted. The road or whatever was left was absolute chaos. The busiest route in all of Nepal, connecting Kathmandu to India. Being a landlocked country, this is where all the logistics move in. Trucks, buses, cargo, everything. We were now right in the middle of it. Just clouds, boulders, wet gravel that try to swallow your wheel. It's a fight, every kilometer. But what really surprises me, how Pegu handled it. He rode through the mess with grace, steady, calm and focused. When I finally pulled over, expecting him to be far behind, he rolled out sooner than I expected, grinding and covered in dust, and absolutely thrilled by being challenged. Then came the broken bridge. The detour looked impossible, risking the crossing, so I decided to push through. The bridge looked like it had seen its last season. With our bikes fully loaded, there was no option to stop midway. You either commit or you fall. The sound of those tires hitting the plank, for a moment it felt like time slowed down. When we finally made it across, we rode on through the night until the city light finally appeared in the distance. We have arrived in the city of temples, silent, sacred, and waiting. The ancient city of Kathmandu. There is something about this city that I've always felt like home. It's one of my happiest places on earth. But what I love most about Kathmandu is its spirit, its energy, where silence and chaos somehow coexist. At the heart of it all lies Pashupatinath, the sacred epitome of Hindu culture. A temple that holds the city and maybe the entire universe together. Everything here somehow revolves around the divine gravity. You don't just visit Pashupatinath, you feel it. It hums through your bones, fills you with something ancient and powerful. A connection to the Almighty that words can barely describe. So even if I had just one day to be here, I wasn't going to miss even a moment of it. And that was exactly why I am here. Standing here watching the rituals by the river, it feels like every breath has purpose. And since it was Pegu's first time here, I wanted him to experience the Kathmandu that I have come to love. Later that day, we rode to Bodhanath, a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Kind of place that Pegu would really appreciate. Easily one of the most mesmerizing landmarks in the world. The stupa rises like a giant eye watching over the city, a masterpiece of architecture and faith. Bodhanath is everything at once, a blend of monastic calm and modern comfort. You can just close your eyes and feel the times slow down. Witnessing the blend of Hindu and Buddhist culture together, it was an experience to live through the history. Overlooking into the entire city, for once everything was still. It was peaceful, calm, and real. When you refuse to give up, the universe stops watching and starts walking with you. For decades, Kathmandu has drawn adventurers from across the world. People who come here to face their greatest challenges. Some chases the tallest mountains on the planet, and other comes to escape the deafening noise of modern world. But most are searching for something far deeper. Awakening the instinct, preparing for the next impossible leap forward. Sometimes inspiration isn't found, it arrives unannounced, exactly when you need it the most. And this time, it sat across from me at a quiet table and wired the way I saw everything. His name was Shivaji.
हमारे महाराष्ट्र में बहुत सारे फोर्ट्स हैं, कम से कम 300 है। 300 में से 150 को तो मैं क्लाइंब कर चुका हूँ। मैं आपको एक दिखाता मैं हमारे लिंगाना करके, ये खतरनाक है। मतलब यहाँ से अगर गिर गया तो 2 दिन बॉडी नहीं मिली, इतना खतरनाक, बहुत खतरनाक वो भी क्लाइंब के लिए। थोड़ा नक्सलाइट एरिया में गढ़चिरौली, तो वहाँ पे मैं कमांडो कोर्स किया है। कमांडो था मैं, रनर, अच्छा मैराथनर। फोटो है वहाँ की गढ़चिरौली की, तो वहाँ क्या AK-47 लेके घूमना, ये करना वो करना। बाकी मेरा फायरिंग वीरिंग बहुत अच्छा था। तो कमांडो में ही मैं पूरा गढ़चिरौली का ही किया। गढ़चिरौली का जो सर्विस था वो पूरा कमांडो कोर्स में किया। मतलब वहाँ पे पहाड़ों में ये चलना ही है। गढ़चिरौली में बहुत पहाड़ है वहाँ पे, और वो क्या करना है, उनको ढूंढना है। तो वो आदत सी लग गई, बैग लेके घूमते रहना 2-2 दिन, 4-4, 5-5 दिन, 10 दिन ऐसा। तो फिर वही बैग में एवरेस्ट के टॉप तक लेके गया। उसके बाद रुका ही नहीं ना। तो मेरे को सब जो पुलिस के जो सब मिलते हैं ना, पदक, रिवॉर्ड, वो सब मिल गए। तो फिर मेरा नाम हो गया। तो नाम को अगर अच्छे से रखना है तो फिर ये बाकी के धंधे कुछ करना नहीं है। तो फिर मैं बोला कि ये अपन नहीं कर रहे तो अपने को टाइम भी मिल रहा है। मैं बोलता कि एडवेंचर में आ जाओ, नेचुरली है, नेचुरल रहेगा, बहुत अच्छा है वो। तो मैं ये माउंटेनियरिंग में लग गया 2016 से।
हम भी दरिया है, हमें अपना हुनर मालूम है, जिस तरफ भी चल पड़ेंगे रास्ता में।
ऐसे शिवाजी नरवरे, मैं महाराष्ट्र पुलिस में SI नागपुर सिटी फिलहाल। अभी मैं मकालो एक्सपीडिशंस, जो वर्ल्ड की 5th नंबर की चोटी है, 8,485 मीटर, वो क्लाइंबिंग के लिए आया हूँ। लास्ट ईयर मैंने 17 में 2023 को माउंट एवरेस्ट को क्लाइंब किया। यहाँ से रामेछाप लोकल आ जाएंगे, वो छोटा प्लेन। वहाँ से 11 दिन के बाद एवरेस्ट बेस कैंप जाऊँगा। बेस कैंप करने के बाद काला पत्थर और लुगुचे करूँगा एक्लोमेटाइज के लिए। उसके बाद देखेंगे रूट ओपन हो गया तो मकालू बेस कैम्प जाएंगे और वहाँ से फिर समिट के लिए निकलूँगा। उसमें तो महीना 1.5 महीना जाने वाला है। 1 महीना तो जाएगा कंप्लीट।
And that was how fate introduced Shivaji, our first unsung hero, a man of extraordinary achievement, yet grounded in rare humility. The path he chose spoke louder than his victories, and with his story etched into our spirit, we left Kathmandu, carrying an energy we have never felt before. It was time. It began tricky, narrow roads, loose gravel, that familiar chaos of traffic. But soon, it opened up to beauty. Endless ridgelines, deep valleys, and the road that cuts through the clouds. Crossing back into India came with a deeper sense of relief. That now I am one step closer to my goal. Riding through Bengal and into Assam was pure joy, a retreat in itself. Looking back on our time in Nepal, I realized how lucky we all were to experience that moment and to find each other. Which was supposed to be my soul grinding, turns out into a memory of a lifetime. Nepal and Pegu were never a part of this story, but eventually it all worked out. There's something about pushing through the storms together that builds a connection beyond words. We will always have these stories to look back on. When Assam finally welcomed us, we both knew what was coming ahead. At a quiet junction, Pegu wished me luck and smiled, the nod that said everything words couldn't. And I let fate take over.
सालों से सफ़र करता आया हूँ, लेकिन इस बार ये सफ़र कुछ अलग है। ये दूरी नापने की नहीं, सच देखने की एक कोशिश है। कुछ कैग रिपोर्ट्स और कुछ कड़वी हकीकतों के आधार पर आपको कुछ ऐसे आंकड़े बताना चाहता हूँ जो शायद आपको असहज करें। ये सिर्फ आंकड़े नहीं, ये जिंदगियां हैं, और इन्हीं सच्चाइयों को देखने, सुनने और समझने की ज़रूरत है। क्योंकि जब तक हम अपनी कोशिशों को नहीं समझेंगे, एकता का अर्थ हमेशा अधूरा रहेगा। ये सिर्फ एक मोटरसाइकिल यात्रा नहीं, ये एक आत्मिक सफ़र है, अपने देश को और खुद को थोड़ा और गहराई से जानने की एक कोशिश, एक विश्वास की कि हम सब एक हैं। और अगर आप ये डॉक्यूमेंट्री देख रहे हैं और इसके संदेश ने आपको कहीं ना कहीं छुआ है, तो मैं आपको एक आमंत्रण देना चाहता हूँ। अपने आसपास ऐसे अनसंग हीरो को खोजिए जो बिना किसी शोर के आपके जीवन और समाज में बदलाव ला रहे हैं। उन्हें हमारे साथ जोड़िए। आइए मिलकर एक ऐसा संवाद स्थापित करते हैं, एक ऐसा संवाद जो भारत की असली कहानियों को उजागर करे।